Hello, everyone. Welcome to Slogan's Rock and Metal Extravaganza. This is episode 7 of our Triumph series, and today we're going to discuss Thunder 7. We have special guest Webb returning again, and another special guest, Davey Cretan from Cretan's Classics. So this will be a fun one. And so, yeah, we're going to discuss stages after, and then we're going to get into Frank Marino, Mahogany Rush with Child of the Novelty. So yeah, we'll start with Thunder 7 and we'll start with Davey. So I want to say how you discovered Triumph for this album and get into ranking the song, talking about the songs, and yeah, so go ahead.
Okay, everything's backwards on StreamYard. I'm so
Yeah.
confused with it. But that's just me, easily confused. I heard Triumph on the radio in the late 70s and early 80s. New York, FM rock radio was playing them. But the first record I went out and bought was Thunder 7 on vinyl, because I heard, and I think it was only the duo of Mike Levine, the bass guitar player, and Gil Moore, one of the two vocalists, and he's also the drummer, were on a syndicated show Webb might remember called Rockline. Remember Rockline?
I do remember it, yes.
And I heard Mike Levine and Gil Moore on the show, and they played a bunch of songs for Thunder 7. And I said, wow, this album sounds even better than the stuff I heard off Allied Forces. So I went out and bought the vinyl. So this was my first purchase by Triumph back in late 1984. And the record came out by my birthday, but I'm going to skip all the stats and leave that for Logan. But I had them prepared, Logan, in case you didn't make it. Nice shirt, by the way, Logan. I have all the stats and numbers down just in case you missed out on the stream like last week, unfortunately. Nice, the inner sleeve of the vinyl.
Yeah, you never know. I might freeze up here.
So I'm going to save that for you, and I'm going to skip over that and just discuss the songs. Now, the record itself has the trio, the two aforementioned guys, like I said, and, of course, the great Rick Emmett on guitar and vocals. And if you haven't checked it out, he did an autobiography about a year ago,
Nice.
Lay It on the Line.
Cool.
Rick Emmett. It's a really good read, and I might even do a quote or two from here. So besides the trio, there's also a keyboard player on this record, which is unusual because
Mike usually does it.
yeah, because Mike's doing the keyboards, and also Rick Emmett, because he spent so much time in the studio when the two other guys were shopping for a new record deal. He was in Metalworks in Ontario, Canada, by you, Sydney, and he was, thanks, Al, and you should go out and get it. It's a really interesting book, very different from most rock biographies. So Rick Emmett's alone in the studio a lot of the time, and he created a lot of the second side in the studio while Gil and Mike were shopping for a new record deal with MCA Records, which turns out to be, we used to call it back in the day at the record store, the Music Cemetery of America. And I've said it on plenty of shows I've done on YouTube. It filtered down to the record stores in the 80s that because they let so many rock bands down like Triumph, Night Ranger, The Fix, Kansas, even Dream Theater when they were on Mechanics, that the label was called, MCA stood for the Music Cemetery of America. And it was originated by Frank Zappa and, oh my goodness, the guy's name just flew out of my head. Oh, Irving Azoff, that's it. He was the president of MCA at one point. And when he departed the label, there was a lot of bad blood. So those two guys came up with the nickname MCA, Music Cemetery of America, because they had so many returns sitting in their warehouses. It was like a cemetery. That's where the name came from. So Rick Emmett was going a bit crazy in the studio, creative. His juices were flowing, and he created most of side 2 on his own. That's why there were really no Gil Moore vocals on side 2, except he does a duet with Emmett on Killing Time, which is amazing. But getting to the songs themselves, there's an extra keyboard player. There's 5 background vocalists, which surprised me too, that are credited on the record. It's produced by Eddie Kramer and the band. It's 41 minutes long, and Eddie Kramer, of course, is known for working with a lot of people, including the great Led Zeppelin, Jimi Hendrix, who we're going to get to later when we speak about Mr. Frank Marino and Mahogany Rush.
And Kiss.
First song? Yeah, exactly. Kiss. Thank you, Webb.
Which Kiss album was
Rock and Roll Over.
Rock and
A
Roll
lot
Over.
of the 70s ones.
Yeah.
Well, not the
Love
early.
Gun. Yeah, he did Love Gun, and he did their EP before the first album.
Okay.
And they actually liked the mix of that. Anyway, we're talking about Kiss. Sorry.
That's okay.
Kiss tangent. Uh-oh.
So Spellbound is the first song, and there's a short build up into this cool, icy Rick Emmett guitar riff, and it builds again until Gil's vocals come in, and they come in right before the 1 minute mark. Great production on this album. You hear all the instruments separately and properly, which is great. The vocals and guitars are right up front and center, as are Gil's drums, which pop and thwack. I love the sound of his drums on this album. They don't have a hollow thud. They just really pop. And Mike also has a good bass presence on a lot of this album as well. And Rick takes a short solo, and there's nice rhythmic underpinnings from the rhythm section. This is an excellent power rock opener to the album. It reached number 10 on the Billboard mainstream rock charts in 1984, late 84, and it scraped the bottom of the Canadian Top 100. Moving on to track 2, Rock Out, Roll On. Something interesting about this song, those who have seen me on Cretan Classics, I end the bulk of my videos, unless it's a tribute video, I always say rock out, prog on, and later, because of my punk side, I added pogo. Now, rock out, prog on, it came from this Triumph song, Rock Out, Roll On, track number 2 here. Little over 5 minutes, just like Spellbound. More exquisite Rick riffing opens this number. And we all know that Rick is an outstanding guitar player. But I love Gil's hooky drum fills on this song, especially during the chorus. I think he's an undervalued drummer and songwriter and even a vocalist, because I love the fact that there are 2 different singers in this band, sort of like Styx with 3 singers, Fleetwood Mac with 3 singers, Kiss, whom Webb loves, with 4 singers in the band.
3.5
lineup.
Yeah, 3.5.
So Gil adds a lot of vocals. Sorry, Logan?
You can't give
Ace
Ace
is
that
number
much
1.
credit, guys.
So I think he's an undervalued cat. I wrote down indeed, indubitably, as I usually say. I love the short bridge middle 8 section before Rick's incendiary solo comes in. The song and the album are a whole tour de force for Rick, I think. And it's too bad the song fades out just as Rick starts to burn again on guitar. There's a fade out, but that's probably back in the day because of the vinyl constraints of like 20 minutes, 22 minutes aside, that they had to fade out the longer tracks, sadly. Track 3, a little under 5 minutes, Cool Down.
Yeah.
Before Kingdom Come, before Bonham, Triumph did a great sounding Led Zeppelin pastiche here. And it starts out with a swampy acoustic guitar and slide guitars from Rick, which sounds good. And then at about the 48-second mark, it breaks out into this all-out Led Zeppelin stomp. And Rick's vocal echoes Robert Plant's here, or as I put in my note, Percy, as we used to call him back in the day. And Gil is slamming on the drums on this song. Sounds great. There's a lot of reverb on Rick's vocals here to make him sound even more Robert Plant-like than he does. This is quite possibly one of their heaviest songs, and Rick blazes on guitars throughout this song. So this is a really good deep track. I think they may have played this on Rockline, but this never really got any radio airplay from the album. I see that. Moving on to track 4, the last song on side 1, Follow Your Heart. This was the quote-unquote big single from the record. It's 3.5 minutes long, so that's why MCA had it slated as a single. It's probably the most accessible song here, and Gil sings lead, and both he and Rick share the choruses. It's catchy, yet it rocks. Not my favorite song on the album, but it's a good song. It hit number 88 on the American charts and also on the UK charts as well. And it hit number 13 on the Billboard mainstream rock charts. So this was the big radio song. There was a video for it. And I saw the video for this in Spellbound, even though I didn't get, and I've said this a zillion times before on YouTube, I didn't get MTV in my area until about I think it was late 1986. So I think I saw these videos on the NBC show here in America, Friday Night Videos. So that's side 1. And the video was sort of a live clip with a lot of overdubs of crowd noise, which I thought was a little too much for the video. Moving on to side 2. I love side 2 of this record. Time Goes By, track 1 on side 2, is a 6 minute, and it's a proggy epic. because they go back to their older sound. Another short build up until the band kicks in, and Rick is on fire on this song on guitar and vocals. I love this track. Probably my favorite track from the album. And Rick and Gil harmonize really well on the pre-chorus on this song. Gil's drum hooks are great, and they cut through on the chorus. I love the pre-chorus here. So catchy and hook-laden. And Rick sings up a storm on this song. And during the solo, he does hammer-ons, and you could hear Mike's bass underneath. Mike is going off on the bass guitar while Rick is soloing, and I love that. The underpinning is great to Rick's solos. And he's doing hammer-ons. I lost my place in my notes here. And he's doing some whammy bar stuff, just a great solo here. And there's this really cool synth swell at 4 minutes and 24 seconds in. And I remember as a teenager, when I was mad at my parents, I would play this album and I would lower the bass and I turn up the volume all the way during that synth swell just to annoy my parents back when I was a nutty teenager. You know, many years ago, cats, decades ago, and I mean that. So this is one of my favorite songs. Oh, here it is. He does tapping on, Rick Emmett's doing tapping on the solo, hammer-ons, whammy bar action. He's doing these fast runs. One of my favorite solos that Rick ever does throughout the whole Triumph career is on this song. I wrote down simply awesome. Rick Van Emmett.
Yes.
Nice. Rick starts going off again for the last 30 seconds, but then unfortunately it fades out. And you could say the first few songs on side 2 are part of a trilogy because you have Time Goes By, Time Canon or Canon, however you say it, and then Killing Time. But the next track is actually a 1 minute and 41 second guitar interlude by Rick Emmett called Midsummer's Daydream. And this is one of the things he created in the studio when the other guys weren't there. And I wrote down briefly, it's a short but sweet Rick Emmett acoustic guitar interlude to give us a slight respite from all the rock bombast and thunder on the rest of the record. So he always usually, on every Triumph album, has some guitar piece, and this is it for this album. And it fits in really well here. Then we move on to the instrument. It's not an instrumental. Midsummer's Daydream was an instrumental. This is the a cappella vocal piece called Time Canon, Time Canon. A minute and a half, and I wrote down Rick, quote unquote, killing time in the studio by himself as the other guys are trying to hammer out the new record deal. And this is part of that trilogy. It's the midsection. And then it goes into Killing Time, which to me is another highlight from the record. Little over 4 minutes long. This should have been the single that MCA pushed because this is a commercial song. It's catchy, awesome tune. And they released it as a single, as a promo single, 13 months after the record came out. Come on, MCA. You're killing me, Smalls, over here. This, once the other singles didn't do well, you should have promoted Killing Time. This is what MCA did to rock bands in the 80s. And it's a darn shame. Let's see, where am I? The verses may be a bit melancholy, but Gil picks up the pace with the vocals on the pre-chorus here. And I love the alternating vocal lines between Rick and Gil on the third verse of the song. Where am I? There's the third verse.
You're good.
Backwards on StreamYard. That silly duck. This is easily one of the album highlights for me. Killing Time is excellent. Moving on to the next song. This is a really good deep track, deep album cut that didn't get airplay. Stranger in a Strange Land by Rick Emmett. Mike's bass really pops on this song. This is when he's shining on the bass guitar right from the get-go. You hear him nice and loud in the mix. And Gil is rumbling around his kit on the drums throughout the song. And Rick is wailing away on guitars and vocals. But it's really nice to hear Mike high in the mix and playing a prominent role in the proceedings, I wrote. Yep, exactly. Mark's right on the ball. MCA just wanted hits. But this is a really good hard rock album. Maybe their hardest rock album. The album ends with another Rick Emmett piece called Little Boy Blues. And this is a blues rocker. It's almost 4 minutes, 3:43 in length. I wrote down it's a sterling bluesy instrumental that I always enjoyed personally. Rick plays his heart out on this number, and Mike's bass burbles along in the background. Gil thrashes on the drums at about the 90-second mark, taking the intensity up a notch, and then they all come down again. It's different, but it's a cool way to end the album. This is one of my favorite Triumph albums. I'm not going to say where it ranks, because on my channel, Cretan Classics, I did do an album ranking of Triumph about 11 months or so, almost a year ago. I did that ranking right at the start of my channel. So check it out and see where Thunder 7 lands. But it's pretty high up there for me. And that's my review of the great Thunder 7, which came out a little over 40 years ago, November of '84.
Nice.
Thanks.
Great, Davey. Great breakdown.
Yeah,
Thanks,
good job.
man.
You could say it was a thunderous effort.
Yes.
Nice.
He really followed his heart doing that.
Yep.
Oh, God. Was he killing time? I don't know. Was he just killing
Killing
time?
time. Yeah. It's
Let
too
the
bad it was
buttons
16
begin.
minutes and not 7 minutes. I don't know.
Woo.
Oh,
Comedy act.
yeah. All right, let's rock out and roll on to Webb.
Okay, well, that was fun to listen to Davey. I tell you, I want to say that how I got into Triumph, I'll start out with that,
Yep.
is late 83, 84, after I had been a Rush fan for maybe about a year. I don't know how I fell into Allied Forces, but a friend had it, and I was like, wow. And I was like, oh, Canadian Power Trio. Yes, this is my thing right now. And just love that album. Then I got Just a Game. So those are the first two that I heard. And I was very impressed. We were listening, my friends and I we were just listening to it all the time. And, you know, we were all waiting for a new album. And I noticed when I was in, you know, there wasn't one out. We didn't, some reason, Never Surrender. I didn't listen to Never Surrender. It's like we didn't realize it came out or something. I don't know. So we weren't that big of fans, but I was listening to those other two albums. And I noticed that when I was doing research that there was almost 2 years between Never Surrender was January of '82. And then this was November of '84. So that's a long time to release another album. But as Davey was saying, maybe they were shopping for a record. Maybe that was part of it. See, I didn't know that. So
That's it.
that was good info. And so okay, there you go. That's it. So when Thunder 7 came out, that was we were like, oh yeah, Triumph's got a new album out. So we were all excited about it. And I noticed, and so then we just listened to it like crazy and just fell in love with it. And like you said, when I did homework, I realized Eddie Kramer, you know, I'm thinking maybe they brought in Eddie Kramer because they were platinum on Allied Forces. And then they were just gold on Never Surrender. Maybe they're thinking, hey, let's get Eddie in here. Let's get platinum again. I don't know what they were thinking, you know, and I looked at it, it didn't ever go platinum, but it went gold in 2003. Thunder 7 did finally. It went gold. So, hey, I mean, it did well, but they were probably thinking, let's get back on top and have a platinum album. So anyway, that's a little too much background, but when it came out, we loved it. And I was realizing, okay, Thunder 7, it's their 7th album, right? Do you think that had something to do with it? I don't know. That was an eye opener for me. And is it the first, since their debut obviously didn't have a title track, but it's the first one without a title track, I think, for like 6 albums in a row.
Well,
or 5 albums.
Progressions of Power does it?
No.
I don't know. Does it?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, then forget that. All right.
I mean, or the debut. It's just called Triumph.
Well, I know that one, but then I thought the rest of them did. And well,
Sorry, Webb, I had to ruin it.
Scratch that thought out. So, you know, I think, okay, so the first thing I think when I get into the songs and start talking about Spellbound, the guys sound refreshed and they sound, I don't know, they just sound like they've had a lot of time off and they're raring to go. And when that fade in of Spellbound, I mean, and then when that guitar riff kicks in, I was like, damn, yes, this is awesome. What a way to open an album. And I just thought, you know, it had a bigger sound. And Davey was saying how it sounded a little bit. I mean, the production value was up a little bit, in my opinion. Yeah, and it just sounded big. And there's a video. There's a video for Spellbound. I watched it this morning. It is awful. It is. They show him playing live, you know. But then there's a guy from the Fridays comedy cast, which was an early '80s thing. So I know our two guys up here don't know it, but he was an actor and he was one of the lead guys on there. He's a guy driving around in a car, looking at this woman that's making him spellbound. It is awful. I don't think I ever saw it on MTV. I don't think
videos were really any good. They were just kind of, you laughed at them.
Please look at it. And at the very end, it shows the guys in the car, like driving out in the Los Angeles desert or something. I don't know where they are. Anyway, look it up after the show. You will laugh. But anyway, Spellbound is just a hell of a way to open an album. I love the way, I don't know, I love in the bridge, like Davey was saying, the way Gil and Rick are singing together, and, you know, and that build up. I mean, I just love it. And then, you know, it goes full circle and goes back to the, you know, later in the song, goes back to the beginning again and kicks in. And, you know, I mean, I just remember thinking, wow, this album is awesome. And I probably say Spellbound's in my top 5 Triumph songs. Don't ask me for the other 4, but I'm just going to say it's in the top 5. And so, hey, I mean, I'm thinking they're like, wow, this is going to be, this album is awesome. So, I wrote down, there's a key change, and I think there's a key change somewhere in this. And I was like, whoa, the guys raised it up and with the vocals. And I thought that was, I don't know if I've ever heard Triumph do that. So that was cool. Okay, going on to Rock Out, Roll On. It's weird. I hear Davey talking about it. He loves it. I feel like when we were driving around as teenagers listening to it, I don't know why that song didn't stick with me. So when I went back to listen to the album, I'm like, I don't know this song very well, but it's really cool. And I don't know why. I don't know. We always went straight to Cool Down. I don't know why, but you know, it's very Zeppelin-ish. I think Davey said that. And, you know, Rick, this sounds incredible singing. You know, there's some heavy lyrics on this album, by the way. I was looking at them and, you know, I heard them, but when you're reading them, it's a whole different thing. I mean, he's like, you know, going back to the Woodstock era and trying to make a change with the rock and roll fans and all that stuff. And I don't know, it's pretty heavy, but I love the song. And I think it has kind of just a killer metal riff is what I wrote down. Kind of has a inspirational vibe throughout the song. And he does mention time in this one. So this is kind of like the introduction to, hey, this album's going to be about time. Yes, exactly. Are you timing me out already? No. So anyway, okay, here's something I wrote down on every song. Every song except one on this album fades out. I don't know. I mean, the only one that doesn't, I think, is Killing Time. And they all fade out and they're jamming. Triumph is so good on their fade outs. You're like, hell yeah, listen to him. And then it just fades out. And then you're like, man, what a cool drum fill. Oh man, Rick he's just going crazy. And then it just fades out. I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. It leaves you wanting more. Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what Eddie was saying. He's like, hey, I'm Eddie Kramer. This is what we're doing. So then you move on to Cool Down. I heard Davey say swampy. I wrote that down. I promise it's in here.
Nice.
I mean, that intro was so cool. There's a little harp in there too. So I'm sure Pete Pardo loves it because doesn't he hate harmonica harp? Doesn't he just hate it? But he's got to love this song because it's so Zeppelin-y. And what Davey said about Kingdom Come or whatever, I was like, oh wow, yeah, that's a good comparison for that one song by them. I remember listening to this song so much. This was Spellbound and Cool Down, I think, were my favorites. And we just listened to those songs over and over and over again. I think the drums have a big that snare is like a gated sound, as I should know being a drummer, but I mean, those drums are so huge. And he does some really cool punchy accents, you know, right before the chorus, he's, you know, all that stuff, which was when I was learning that's when I've been drumming for a few years. And I was like, oh, that is badass. That is so cool. and the acoustics all through like the whole song, and the middle section is just unbelievable. Then the double time, of course, when it double times, oh man, they're just rolling, and it's another fade out jam. And I remember, I wrote this down. I remember that my one of my good friends challenged me to learn the drums you got to learn the drums to cool down. And I think I did. I probably couldn't play it very well now, but when I was 17, maybe. So anyway, let's go to Follow Your Heart. There's the single. I remember seeing the video, like Davey said. I wrote this down. Maybe somebody heard this. I'm not too proud that I knew this connection. I put, did Poison cop this rip for Fallen Angel? Okay, just go listen to it. I'm not a Poison fan, but I remember all their videos. Mama's Fallen Angel. Don't get me to sing. But anyway, listen to the two, and I'm telling you, I think Poison's like, that's a good riff. I'm rewriting that one. But this video was on. I remember seeing it pretty often. It wasn't on heavy rotation, but it did go to 35 in Canada, and I think it said it was the highest charting single at the time by them. They had one later that was higher, but I love the way they sing together. I mean, Gil sounds great. Gil sings so well on this. His voice is so, I don't know. It just sounds, I mean, I always love his voice, but it just sounds better on this album. I don't know if it's just he was refreshed and relaxed, and I don't know. Maybe it was Eddie Kramer. I don't know, but he sounds great. One of those uplifting, inspirational lyrics again. Triumph's good at that. Follow your heart. You just gotta follow your heart. Do everything today. Forget about tomorrow. I'll stop doing that. It was perfect for the radio. Nothing showy in it. I felt like the guitar solo is really cool. Definitely kind of has a hair metal vibe to it. And another fade out jam. Yet another one. Time Goes By. Definitely prog rock. And again, probably the coolest. Yeah. Probably the Spellbound. I forgot about Time Goes By. Cool Down and Time Goes By were the three that we listen to all the time. And, now Rick's really, really heavy on talking about time and take your chances, live a life experience. He's kind of talking about a relationship in it, where he is talking about a relationship with it, and just that balance in their lives. I think the keyboards. I think that Mike Levine, he doesn't get talked about enough for his keyboard work. I mean, it's always in the back is textured. Don't make me read those while I'm. Stop. I cannot look down at that again. But man, I don't think, does anybody talk about Mike Levine's keyboard work? I mean, and the guy in general just doesn't get talked about. I feel like it's always Rick and Gil. And then Mike's like, he's there. He writes all the songs too. He's there. But I just think he shines on this album. His bass work is great. I think that I think the solo on Time Goes By is I wrote very symphonic, like it's like real speedy. He's going nuts on that. And it just keeps like Trans-Siberian Orchestra type thing. And I love Gil's. I wrote killer long classic Gil drum fill. It went. Anyway, I love the air drum, as you can tell. And another fade out. Another killer fade out. Let's move on. Midsummer's Daydream. I think this is, Rick does one on every album, right? Did he do one on the first one? Because I'm not that familiar with the first album, except Blinding Light Show, and I know a few songs. But anyway, I think this is his best one. I mean, I'm sure people can argue that they're all unbelievable, but this is like his shining moment. I feel like people that they might not know much about Triumph, but if you play them this song, I mean, this is instrumental. They're like, oh my God, what is this? My wife just loves this song. She said it just puts her in the best mood. And, the little harmonics at the beginning, and then that, and then that run. I mean, the Rick is so talented. I mean, good Lord. I don't think people talk about it. I don't think he gets enough credit for how great he is.
You're right.
He can play anything. Like it's not just rock. He's not just a rock musician, right? He can say, "Here's Beethoven, play it on guitar." Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like he could probably just do anything. He'd probably play every instrument. And I just, I feel like when I wrote this down, when you hear this, I feel like I'm kind of like walking through it like on a forest, with streams and a pond, and I don't know. I feel like I'm out in nature. It just has that lilting. I don't know. It just makes you feel so good. Love it. I probably listened to that song 500 times. And I did write that my wife loves it. That was the last thing I wrote. Okay, let's go into Time Cannon and Killing Time. The acapella, kind of like the acapella of Leave It, by Yes. Yes is probably a little more involved, but in a little more, fleshed out. But that's what it reminded me of. And is it all three of them sing? Davey might know this. That's only Rick.
It's all Rick in the studio.
Oh my God. There's a lot of info in that book. I'm going to have to read that book. Wow. Well, that makes it even more impressive. He hits, how does he sing in that register? How does he do that? This guy's like 5'4". How does he?
He's way up there. He's wailing.
He is wailing. Killing Time it's a travesty that I didn't listen to every song when I had the CD and had the cassette. I skipped over. I don't know why. Killing Time, I had listened to and I thought it was cool, but I had to really listen to it again. I'm hearing Just the Game a little bit in it. The ding, ding, ding. It has that that riff is totally close to Just the Game, and kind of the tempo too. And it kind of sounds like a ballad. And then there's some more double time. Gil starts singing. I love when they trade off. And I love when they sing together. It's just so cool. More heavy lyrics again. Don't be satisfied and content with just killing time. You'll never get it back. Don't be angry and cruel. Do the things you want to do. Time always moves. Anyway, no fade out. No fade out. They finally end the song. Okay, getting near the end. Stranger in a Strange Land. Little shuffle, kind of a slow shuffle, a little halftime shuffle. I feel like Gil's not very comfortable with it. Never want to say anything negative about him, but I was just listening to it over and over again, and it just feels like he's kind of playing around with it, and it just, I don't know, sometimes it doesn't lock in very well, but it's a cool song. Stranger in a Strange Land, that's a song title for like 10 other bands.
Maiden.
Used Maiden, of course. I can't remember. I wrote down Leon Russell. I don't know if you guys know that, but he has a really cool song called Stranger in a Strange Land. And I know there's more, but that was the two that came to mind. I wrote crunchy, sleazy, strip bar kind of riff. I see Sydney.
Yeah, what is that? It reminds me. I can't like think. There's a song I'm trying to think of what it sounds like.
Sydney,
I've heard this in another song. I'm like, it's annoying me. I can't think of what it is.
I could not pin it to something else. I was like, I've heard like something.
Yeah.
And it definitely is like kind of like
There's probably something that's like a huge hit or something.
Right, like an MTV hair metal ballad, hair pop metal ballad, and a little bit later probably has something like that. I put funky bass lines in the verses. I wrote a searing solo. That's a good Pete Pardo one. Searing. Okay, so this is when we get to the instructional part of the. Okay, so one of the lyrics says Damocles sword. And I probably said it wrong. I didn't know much about that, so I had to look it up. I had heard it, but I wasn't sure the reference. And, it's like something bad will most likely happen, especially to those in power. And how do you spell that? I have no idea. Oh, Damocles. There you go, Sydney.
Sure.
Everybody take notes. Spelling test afterwards. But anyway, heavy lyrics again. Heavy lyrics. Rick is just like laying it down with just talking about time and just how, no one controls time. You better do what you want to do and don't hang on to things and just live. And the whole, yeah, but anyway, I had to learn about Damocles' sword. I thought that was really cool. And then the last one is the blues instrumental that is just kind of a showcase for all of them, but of course, Rick. I mean, and I don't know if you want to call it filler, but you know, it's good. Yeah, okay. You're saying that. I think it's good. I probably skipped over it a ton, but it's good. And I mean, it's this great soloing. There's some cool drum fills in it, and the album's over, and I'm like, damn, this is a good album. I mean, this is a great album. I know that their popularity kind of was kind of starting to decline though after this. You know, it seems like this should have been like a platinum album, and it didn't happen. And then the next one, Sport of Kings. Well, they did stages, of course, but Sport of Kings didn't do very well either. That's when I saw them live though, and they kicked ass. Oh my God. Yeah, their stages. But they were kicking, they were still kicking ass live no matter what. But their popularity faded. Yeah. And then by like 88 or 89, they were kind of like, yeah, you guys with the slow-mo. That's awesome. All right. Well, that's Thunder 7. I love it. It's in my top 2. I love Just the Game. I love Allied Forces, and this. You can all three together, mix them around for me. So let's move on.
All right. Oh, we forgot to do rank ratings. Davey, how would you rate it out of 10?
Ooh, probably 9.5. 9.5. Great album.
9 7/8.
9.314.
902.1.
90210.
I'll say 8.5. I'm gonna go 8.5.
All right.
Is that? I mean, that kind of sounds
good.
after he says after Davey says 9.5.
That's good.
Sounds like I don't like it, but I love it.
Wait till we get to Sydney's ranking. Rating.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
0 up.
I'm just kidding. Oh, okay. Logan's turn.
Logan.
All right. I'm going to start with talking about the artist Dean Motter, who I think he worked for DC Comics. He's the guy who made the artwork here.
Well, that makes sense.
That's
very, yeah.
Vitruvian Man, which is a play on Da Vinci's artwork, which I thought was cool. And also Web Shirt is kind of a play on that with the drummer. But I brought up it's produced by Eddie Kramer, you know, who produced Hendrix, Kiss, April Wine, Fastway. And I've talked about the singles charts here about Follow Your Heart, but Davey mentioned that, hitting both 88 in the UK and the US. And the album as a whole peaking at 35 on the Billboard 200. I don't know if you had anything else, Davey. I mean, you could say it. That's the only things I wrote down.
I have to find it in my notes.
Well, I'm going to say
I do have some chart placements. 43 in Canada, 35 in the US, 43 in Sweden.
Sweden.
Because they played Sweden Rocks when they got back together.
Awesome. All right. Yeah, and I also mentioned that it went platinum in Canada and gold in the US. But I'll start getting into the tracks. Opens with Spellbound. Kicks off in some fine rocking fashion we've grown accustomed to with the band. It's got a great rocking riff, some keyboard backing that bleeds in that heavy groove. Gil takes the lead vocal, giving off an aggressive lead, kind of showing off his vocal talents a little bit, which I probably agree with Webb. This is probably his best kind of vocal orientated album. I just wish he kind of was on a little more, but I mean, Rick's kind of on fire on this album too. So it's kind of hard to deny that. But Rick gives a couple seconds of acoustic, like in between the verses. There's a nice bridge section too, leads into the solo. I love the solo of this song. Rick showing off some guitar action, but he was always good at like making short, concise solos most of the time. I mean, sometimes, you know, he showed off like he should, but a lot of the times they're short and consistent and get to the point kind of. And I wrote down one more time. Well, if I had to say how I feel about this song in one word, I wrote fantastic. So it would probably be in my top 10. Hint, hint. Just saying. But then we get Rock Out Roll On, which has some more layered keyboard work, Rick giving a vocal, and has some cool chord structures in the song, like at the start. Yeah, it left me spelled. I was like the guy in the video web was talking about. I was like, but yeah, we get Rock Out Roll On. I love some of the words, like the lines in this song, like about the ghost of Woodstock, and kind of like what Rick was accustomed to doing. You know, he always wrote like about society, and I mean, he wrote the typical rock and roll lyrics too, but you know, this one's kind of more introspective a little bit. I love the chorus of this song, hits you like a hammer when it comes in. That Eddie Kramer production really shows off on that. Song structure kind of reminds me of Never Surrender a little bit. It's got like the same feel to it with the acoustic verses and the, you know, a little bit harder. I guess Never Surrender isn't really harder rocking, but it's got the same kind of feel a little bit. And I said the bridge kind of sounds like these guys a little bit of this song. It's got their moments, you know, a little Styx-ism, I guess, is what I wrote down. Yeah, Rick holds that high note, you know, to start his solo off. I love that for a couple seconds. Like I said, it's another well-constructed solo that travels between, if you're listening to this album on headphones, it goes between both channels. It's pretty cool. Which also, we'll get into that with Mr. Marino a little bit. But Styxism. I just made a new phrase, I guess. Yeah, but just a great anthemic rock song from these guys, I think. Then we get Cool Down, which I guess you can put me 3 for 3 because I wrote, we get another bluesy, swampy track that starts with Rick singing a very emotional vocal, like contrasting the music. Makes for a cool start to the song, kind of. Gil's drums thunder in, and that awesome riff comes in. And I think it's probably one of Rick's more rocking vocal deliveries. I mean, he has a lot, but yeah, this is a great one. I love how he sings in this song. And I like how the solo section, it goes into the acoustic blues part, and then it goes back into electric. Then it's got a heavy rocking section. And it kind of sounds like Rick's kind of trading off between himself. It's kind of cool, different lines. Yeah, it's just a great hard rocker. And I definitely hear the Zeppelin thing. I didn't write that down, but yeah, they could do their Zeppelin-isms when they wanted to. I need to calm down with the isms. I'm saying that a lot today. But
Schism.
Then we get the fourth track, Follow Your Heart. Schism. But we get Follow Your Heart. Positive message-filled song with Gil taking the vocal. Love the chorus of the song. You know, great message, inspirational at the same time, you know. Musically, I wrote down the song's kind of straightforward. Got that guitar riff. I said it kind of reminds me of Y&T's Don't Stop Running from the same year. Kind of has that little riff, kind of the same. With another cheesy video, by the way, if you guys have ever seen that video. But yeah, just a great combination of Rick and Gil really makes the song shine, in my opinion. And I wrote down it's a great side of music. And then we get to the time theme, I guess, that kind of comes in and out of side 2. With Time Goes By. The synths at the start. I said it almost Red Hot Chili Pepper-ism. Yeah, that's a little too complicated, probably. But yeah. Where was I at? Well, the synths kind of sound like a clock before it breaks into the great blues riff from Rick. He returns the vocals, giving a pretty passionate vocal, dealing with the passing of time. Kind of Rick showing off his vocal register in this song, going from like the lower tones in the verses to soaring in the chorus. There's a nice bridge section with some lighter tones. And I love that fast and energetic section with Rick showing off some like tapping work like we were talking about. Kind of some staccato style leads, harkening back. It really reminds me of some of the earlier kind of stuff he did on the first 3 or couple albums, because he didn't really do that too often in the Allied Forces, all that kind of stuff. And we get back into the verse and the chorus and rounds this great epic song off with some more Rick soloing that fades too fast is what I wrote down in the notes.
Fade.
Yep.
But
Fade.
yeah. But we get after that Midsummer's Daydream, which is Rick's acoustic showcase of this album. It's a great and welcome change in pace from what came before it, I think. repeating what I've said in past shows, and Webb brought it up, what a seriously underrated, underlooked talent Rick Emmett was, and still is, continues to be today. Then we get Time Cannon, which comes back into the time.
Time.
But it's a full vocal only excursion from Rick. Pretty cool for what it is, but it just leads into Killing Time. And I wrote down in my notes, now capital time for some introspective music and words via Mr. Emmett. I always thought this was almost the answer song to Magic Power, because the first verse, they sing about the girl listening to the radio. It's kind of like talking about her afterwards, kind of. Yeah.
Great connection.
But
yeah, good one.
Yeah.
I never thought of that.
I love how Rick and Gil sing this together. And it really makes me wish they did this more, because this is like the only track. I mean, so far, I know they probably did later. I'm kind of going the way we're doing these shows. I mean, I've listened to the later albums, but not as much to be familiar with them too much. So I'm kind of just going on this journey when we go with the show. But so far, it doesn't seem like they do too many vocals together. But yeah, it's got a great chorus. And I wrote down again, I kind of get a Styx feel with this track a little bit. Kind of like Pieces of Eight, maybe, something like that. Yeah, vocal harmonies, yep.
Yes.
It's got like a great power ballad styled song with great meaning, kind of ends the time section off of the album. Harmonism. But then we get Stranger in the Strange Land, which is every stripper's dream song, I guess. I didn't know that until we but yeah, I kind of hear it. I mean, after you guys say that, and I kind of agree with what Webb's saying. I don't think Gil's good at doing kind of a shuffle, but it is kind of strange, kind of a wonky, kind of a little more blues,
Yeah, it's just not very smooth. It's just not smooth. It doesn't flow.
Sounds kind of choppy, kind of
choppy. Yes.
Yeah. It's giving kind of a laid back vibe, and some chances for Rick to stretch out a little bit at the start, And I know Davey talked about Mike's bass playing on this album. This track really, I think during the solo section, he's doing some cool stuff on this song. It's like talking about past times and moving on. And I don't know how true this is. I've seen it. Rick said he wasn't too fond of this track. I don't know how true that is, but
Look,
yeah.
Sydney.
Money will be for Sydney. Okay.
Magic Sid.
Oh, God.
He's a rock and roll machine. All right, before this gets off the rails, not one of my favorites. It's got some cool moments. I think it mixes some progressive spots with that hard rocking riff at the start pretty nicely. It's a cool tune. Then we get Little Boy Blues, which is a good laid back blues instrumental. You give Rick a chance to shine in the spotlight some, showing how multi-diverse he is in his playing styles. I think Rick's really the reason you want to listen to this track. He's going around. Well, some of the stuff that Mike and Gil are doing are pretty cool, but I do like when it picks up and it, kind of gets a little, not faster, but kind of feels like more of a band thing towards the middle, like Davey was talking about. Yeah. But that's about all I had to say about that one. It's a nice track. I don't think it's a great album closer, though, personally.
Well, I agree.
But and I'll just wrap up, I guess. I just turned that age, Jack.
Yes.
But, you did.
This period, again, this period of triumph I hold very near and dear to me, and this album's no exception. I probably wouldn't change anything about it. And I said this when we did Allied Forces. Some of my favorite Triumph songs are on here. And I enjoy side two's like time concept. Kind of wish they would have made the whole side like that personally. Because you already got, 3-4 songs? I think so, El. I believe it is 21. But instead of putting some like blues instrumentals and stuff. But I gave it a 9 on my notes. So That's my
Oh,
review of
nice.
this. bad
You got the
boy.
best rating so far.
Well, Davey gave it 9.
Yeah, Dave.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right. 9 point. Yeah, I was thinking 8.5. Yeah, that's right. You said 9. Yep, 9.5. All right, so I'll get into it.
Yes,
So yeah,
sir.
starts off with Spellbound. Great. I shouldn't like this kind of stuff because I don't really lean towards the accessible stuff, but for whatever reason, I love this song. It's just maybe because it's Triumph, so I'm somewhat biased towards it. Like if Journey did this, I'd be like, I just like the song. It's just the video is just extremely cheesy. Like I said, that car would have crashed if he was like that.
It's so bad.
It's ridiculous video, but it makes me laugh. Like I don't know, it's funny, but whatever. They were going for that, so yeah, great song. Just good, memorable riff. Good fun song. Good short solo. Should have been like a #1 hit. I don't know what else came out that year, but yeah, should have been a huge hit. It did do well here. Like it went platinum in Canada. Allied Forces only went gold in Canada, so it actually outsold Allied Forces here.
So weird.
Then Rock and Roll
Mind
Machine was double
boggles, doesn't
platinum
it?
here. Like Rock and Roll Machine was their biggest album in Canada. So
Odd to me.
it seems like we lean towards the heavier stuff, I guess. I don't know. Like weird. It's just how it was.
Yeah.
And then Rock Out Roll On. Love the song. I love the lyrics. The whole Ghosts of Woodstock still haunt the next of kin. I always thought that was like a really smart lyric. It's like the people who died at Woodstock passing on the music, the torch to the upcoming musicians. That's what I kind of get from that lyric. It's just, I'm not usually gravitate towards lyrics too much, but that I always just thought that stood out. Tribe's lyrics actually do stand out. Like I'm not really a big lyric guy, but for whatever reason, the lyrics always stuck out to me with them. And then we get to Cool Down. Total Zeppelin. Love that song. Probably my favorite on the album. And then the beginning almost reminds me a little bit, and you might hate me for this, is that Bon Jovi song Blaze of Glory with the little acoustic thing at the beginning. Bon Jovi would have copied this, if anything. Or they're both just
Same
copying
kind of-
Zeppelin, really, but But
Yeah,
it
it's that
same
slide
kind of guitar.
guitar,
has that whole
Yeah.
in a desert kind of feeling to it.
Yeah.
It's a way better song. But cool. And then I love, that's my pet peeve though. Again, with this song and a lot of stuff, it fades out right at the end. He's just going nuts on the leads, and you're like, wait, the solo's just disappearing now? Okay.
I know. What happened? I
Uh,
don't know what happened.
Phil X took it,
Oh my gosh.
And then Follow Your Heart, another song I should hate, but I like it. It's catchy. If Journey did this, it's a #1 hit. Like I
Agreed.
guess maybe because it's some band from Canada, it wasn't as big as it should have been. It was the biggest hit on the album, but should have been huge.
Yeah.
Like
Agreed.
Yep. It should have been huge. Like, that's a song you hear and you're like, how is this not on every radio in every country? And it's weird. It shouldn't have been just like a minor hit. It should have been huge. But great catchy song, short solo, but it's still just a fun song. And then time goes by. Probably back and forth between this and Cool Down are probably my favorites on the album. The beginning, as soon as I heard it, Rock Candy by Montrose. It's sounds the exact same. Not right.
Yeah. Oh,
It
good.
sounds like just the opening riff. And I don't think he goes back. Yeah, I guess he does. He goes throughout the song. Yeah, I don't know if the drums are the same, but the riff sounds the same to me. It sounds like Rock Candy, which is cool because I love that song. It's a really, really cool riff. But it's a great song. And then that little tap in the solo he does in the middle tapping. I remember watching an interview with him talking about that because people are always praising him for that solo. He's like, well, actually, you can kind of do it with one hand. You don't really need two hands to do that. He's like, I literally played that with one hand, just going do it on one hand. He wasn't even playing with his other hand, like to strum. He was just, on an acoustic, it wouldn't work because you kind of need to use both hands. But and then we get to Midsummer's Daydream. It's probably in the book.
There's the man.
Yeah, nice.
Older Rick.
See, and he's not so vain. He threw a picture of himself now on there.
Yep.
It's not like he just threw. Oh, this is me, 40 years ago. Yeah. Then
You
yeah,
weren't even born 40 years ago.
nope. Midsummer's Daydream. This is probably this may be Finger Talking from Progressions of Power are probably the ones I like the most when it comes to like his little acoustic pieces. It's not bad. Like to me, it's just kind of like I guess it's not really an intro because Time Cannon is an intro, but like it's just like the small little with little acoustic Spanish sort of it's like a summer song. You could just play it on the summer and it's perfect for that. But it's really well played. He's such a great guitar player. Like not anyone can just play that kind of stuff. It's one thing to play the rock stuff, but then to be able to pull off this stuff too. It's just a phenomenal guitar player.
You know what? If I could interrupt for a second, it's a little Steve Howe-esque.
Yes, well,
Yes.
I think he's mentioned that Steve Howe from Yes was like his favorite guitar player.
Yep.
Because he's always doing those little acoustic things.
What does this Davey guy know about Steve Howe?
He only talks prog all the time. How is
favorite band? Yes, I'm my favorite band.
How is him?
Hey, Joey. That's my friend Joey from Rock Show Critique.
There you go.
Mr. Pseudo, yeah.
Yeah. And then we get Howism. Oh my God, here we go.
It's gonna go on to the end.
Howism. Who else is in that band? Who else? John Andersonism? I don't know.
Look at what I started.
Squireism.
Squireism. Well, at least there's nobody in the band with the last name in New York, because then it's aneurysm. Oh boy. Then we get to time. I thought I heard that. I'm like, okay, this is a bit silly. But then normally that would be ridiculous. If you just played that on its own, you'd be like, what the hell is this? But then you got to really appreciate how great his voice is. Like, it's great. It's just like a little intro, right? If it went on for like 5 minutes, you'd be like, okay, like, can we get on with it? But yeah, no, it works well in the context of the album. Like I said, to pull this apart, it's kind of, you can't really pull this apart, go song by song, right? For that. Because if you were to just rate it as a song, it's like, okay, well, it's not really a song, right? But it's great. It goes great into Killing Time, which I love. I love the back and forth. I love how Rick does like the slow kind of mellow part, and then when the song picks up speed, Gil does it. So they're each taking turns on the different parts of the song. I love that.
Yes.
And I always thought, whenever I hear it though, there's the line about not holding on to anger and forgiving things. But at this time, they weren't getting along and they were angry with each other. So it's like, was this kind of reflecting on what was going on with their? Because I remember, it's probably in Rick's book. He mentions that he wished he had left after Allied forces, so then things would cool down. He would have time to cool off, do a solo thing. Then he probably would have ended up back. He would end up back in the band again, and it wouldn't have blown up so bad. Like, he went 20 years. He's like, I'll never get that time back now because you just didn't talk to each other for 20 years. Had I left earlier, it probably might have saved the relationship a little bit more. Yeah, it's a shame, but yeah. At least now it's no longer an issue, so that's good. But yeah. That's a song they should have played live after getting back together. Just for that.
Yep.
But yeah, and then Stranger in a Strange Land, like I said, I mentioned it while I can't remember what that almost has a Montrose though, the riff. It does. It's not like rock can, but it has that same sound to it. So I don't know if Rick was listening to that first Montrose album, because that weird shuffle, it has that tone to it. It just does.
Oh,
yeah.
I Don't Want It has a shuffle riff.
Yep.
Yeah.
Maybe it's that. Because maybe this was Montrose influencing Rick. That's the thing. He probably had like so many different influencing guitar players that he was into, and just like, well, this sounds good. I think I'll borrow from this guy. But he always puts his own spin on it, right? It's not like where you listen to it and you're like, oh, this is just a direct copy. I might as well not listen. It's just done in his own way, right? Like it's not to the point where you would play the songs back to back and not be able to tell which song is which. It's not that. Yeah, it's a good song. It's pretty. It reminds me almost of something Rush would do in the 80s. And to me, he almost sounds like Geddy on this song. It's almost like 80s Rush, a little bit heavier, kind of reminds me of that 80s synth era of Rush. The keyboards just aren't as pronounced on this as they would be on a Rush song.
Yeah.
But his voice is total Geddy Lee on Stranger in a Strange Land. it almost kind of has like that, I guess like a Caribbean, I guess you could call it, the whole melody of it. Not Caribbean, but like kind of like chilling out kind of stuff that Rush would sort of do, like on like a time stand still kind of sort of feel to it, but just more emphasis with the guitar. But then yeah, Little Boy Blues, great instrumental song. When I first heard this album without actually hearing any of it, I just looked like, you could just go looking at song titles. I looked at Little Boy Blues. I'm like, oh, this is just going to be another boring Rick acoustic thing that I'm not really crazy about. But then I heard it. I was like, oh, okay, this is just like a great, solid blues song. I thought it was going to be Suitcase Blues Point 2.2. Like, it was just like, I don't know. But no, turned out to be, yeah, I love this song. It's actually really, really good. Doesn't need vocals. It's just a great blues song. It's like, yeah, great leads, great fun song. That's yeah. Rick Emmett could do blues. Like, it's just, he could do everything. And again, like if this was some big famous guitar player that came out and recorded Little Boy Blues, it's probably a big hit. Like if Clapton did that or somebody else, like it's probably a big hit. Because it's Rick Emmett, it should have been bigger. And he should be way more recognized as a guitar player, a singer, everything. And even Gil. Gil's no slouch on vocals either. They're both excellent.
I was going to jump in and say that the tone of on his guitar on that, is it a little Stevie Ray Vaughan or is it not that quite aggressive? I don't know. I felt like I heard a little.
A little, yeah,
maybe.
Yeah,
because it's 80s, right? So it's not like 60s or 70s blues. It's more like modern. It's like blues but modernized. So it's like he took like a shredding kind of style in a blues song.
Yeah,
maybe just how they took this and modernized it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Logan.
Like,
yes.
Man,
like
I'm on fire today.
It's
Logan.
like if Yngwie did it as a blues song, but not as noodly and just over the top, right? Like,
yeah, it's got a lot of sheen on it. I mean,
we went an hour and 2 minutes without noodle.
noodle. So yeah, overall, it's not a top try. Like I still find it's a great album, but like I said, the older albums are very dear to me, so I can't give this as high as those. I mean, I gave those 10s and 9s, so this is not going to get a low ranking anyways. But I'd probably go 8.5.
Nice.
Yeah, because I still think it's a great album. It's not a bad album at all. Like it's still, yeah.
Yeah. Awesome, man.
So we get to the Triumph. Oh yeah, I guess we got to do stages. We'll do stages first. But I think we should do the trivia before people, because I actually thought of a trivia question. People might forget it. So if we can go on to it. It was said really, really earlier in the show, so I don't want people to forget and then so they'll get to pick the album after the next review that we get to do next week. So it'll be what song did Webb's friends try to make him learn on drums? Come on, it should be an easy one. We mentioned it probably 50 times.
It's a pretty hot track.
Oh, yeah.
Stop.
Noodleism. Oh, God. That sounds like
that's a good one. See,
Cretinism. Collinsism. Play it, Webb.
I was rambling a lot, so they might not have heard it.
Play it, Webb, and we'll see if we recognize.
Well, yeah, I have the electronic kit behind there. I wish I had my acoustic kit.
Nice.
That'd be way too loud.
You're auditioning for Def Leppard?
Yes. Well, hey, electronic kit is okay for some gigs. It's easy. You just fold it up, folding and folding and folding, and then you just, it's easy. So, and they sound pretty good nowadays. So.
Nice.
No one's gonna get that.
You don't think? Oh, I thought for sure. I thought that would have been an easy one.
I can give them a hint.
I said it was a hot track.
Woman, my whole world's upside down. Woman, you turn my head around.
Oh my
Keep it swinging, cat.
Okay, the opening drum fill is boom, 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 boom.
Basically a Zeppelin song. There's a hint. It's too big of a hint, but come on. Webb's like, I know this one.
I want to answer it and pick my own album again.
Can I buy a vowel?
Mark said the 2 song.
That's
It's
not
on
a song.
side 1. It's on
No,
side
it's not
1.
Rock Out Roll On. That's different.
He's close.
Close.
It's almost there.
Yeah.
It's greater than 2.
Yep.
It has something to do with temperature.
Yeah.
Pretty
And the
hot track.
opposite, and the opposite of up.
God. Somebody please answer.
Oh, my dad wins it again. Come on.
Oh my God.
No picking Frank Marino because you already picked that. Pick something that's cool down. Oh my God. Cool down.
Cool down.
I hope people are laughing as much as we are because this is fun.
I should call this triumphism.
Yeah.
That's what we should have called instead of a triumphant catalog.
A triumphism. No, that doesn't.
Just triumphism.
Moving out of the 70s. Oh my God.
Yeah, we're a comedy act today. I mean, it's
an 80s album, so not really.
Well,
70s.
we could start talking about this bad boy if you want to.
Yep. Well, he makes up his mind on what he's gonna pick.
Stages.
Yeah.
Stages.
I'll leave all the chart action to Logan on this one.
Yeah.
There we go.
It came out less than a year later. Ooh, the first Montrose.
Nice.
Yes.
Nice.
Ooh.
Nice.
Bummer, I'm not going to be on that show.
I mean, you could. You could come on for that at the end if you
I'm working.
Okay.
I'm working next Saturday, much to my chagrin.
Yeah.
So it came out less than a year after Thunder 7 came out October 85. 11 months later, also on MCA. And if you read Rick's book, Lay It on the Line, he talks about the fact that they owed MCA so much money that they threw out this double live album because Thunder 7 didn't do that well on the charts and didn't recoup the money that they owed to MCA. So MCA said, let's put out a double live record. On the original double live record, there are 15 songs, but on the CD reissue, depending which one you have, there's only 13 or 14. They cut out Allied Forces and they cut out the drum solo, but then when they remastered it, they put the drum solo back on.
With World of Fantasy, right? They kind of tacked it on,
which makes it like an 8-minute version of World of Fantasy with the drum solo stuck in. So the version that I have, I think has I have the original version, which has the 13 songs. But on the double live record, the last 2 songs, track 14 and 15, were new studio cuts at the time. And you want to talk bad videos, the video from Mind Games is horrible. That's way worse than the other videos, I think. Ooh. Now, this has Gilmour on vocals, but he does not play drums on this song because he had an arm injury. So there's a dude, and I wonder if any of you guys know who this is, because I do not. Gary McCracken plays drums. What band is he from?
Max Webster.
Max Webster.
Canadian.
A band that's in my blind spot, unfortunately.
Oh, you got to listen to Max Webster.
I have to get into.
Yeah, they are crazy.
There's so many
weird
bands I have to get into. So this guy, Gary McCracken, from Max Webster. I should have looked it up, but I was too busy making too many notes to do that. He plays drums on this song. I wrote the best thing about this song, pardon me, Rick's guitar riffs on here and his guitar work. I wrote down a really bad, dated MTV video was released that somehow I saw back in the day before MTV, and the star of the video, the male lead, gets Johnny Depped in the bed, like in A Nightmare. Sorry, Webb. A Nightmare on Elm Street. The guy's lying on the bed, and the bed swallows him.
Oh my God!
And I said, "Wait, I saw that in A Nightmare on Elm Street."
Well, that came out in '84, so they were going with something big. They were.
And this song, Mind Games, which was the single, hit number 49 on the Billboard chart. Sorry, I'm losing my voice a little. So Gil takes lead vocal, and he's the only band member that you see in the video. And it's a very dated concept video. The song's okay. It's the better of the 2 studio tracks. And then the other one is Empty Inside, which is a Rick Emmett vocal lead. And Mind Games was a little under 5 minutes. Empty Inside is 4 minutes long. Is that a drum machine on this song, or is that Gil playing drums? Because sometimes the drums don't sound real on this song.
Yeah.
Sounds like a drum machine.
Yeah. Do you think? I mean, were these outtakes from Thunder 7? I mean, that's not in the book.
I'm not sure.
Okay.
Yeah, there's
The
nothing that
different
really,
sessions, I
there's
think.
no real information. Just says there's 2 new songs. It's like, okay, well, are they new or are they old songs that they just threw
I
on there?
mean, they were throwaways. I mean, they got to be throwaways.
Well, it says it just had it. Recorded by Hugh Cooper. I don't know who that is, but I mean, you think if it was a outtake, it'd be Eddie Kramer or something.
Were they already? Well, I was going to say, were they already trying to make the next album, The Sport of Kings? And that no, they weren't.
I don't think so.
Okay.
The best thing about this song, again, is Rick's guitar playing. It's pretty uneventful other than that. And it's a good live album, but I'm not really a huge, unlike Mr. Pete Pardo, I'm not a huge live album guy. I guess my favorites would be Yes songs and definitely by Thin Lizzy, Live and Dangerous, because that's the first Thin Lizzy record I got into. So that's an amazing live album. This is good. Some of the songs go on a little long, and the 2 new studio tracks. So I wouldn't say this is an essential Triumph purchase. I'd probably give it a 7 overall.
That's not bad.
Nice, dude.
It's not bad for someone that doesn't like live albums, care for live albums that much. Like 7's really, yeah. So yeah, over to Webb.
Well,
You gave it a Thunder 7.
Yeah, there you go. Logan's on fire. Stages. Okay, the live stuff sounds good. I haven't listened. I didn't listen to it back in the day really much at all, and I haven't gone back to it much streaming or anything. But I mean, they sound, and the performances are great. It said live from 81 to 84, so it goes back as far as. Oh, tell me. Yes.
85.
Oh, 81 to 85. Okay.
81 to 85 because it has stuff from Thunder 7.
Okay, cool. So I guess it was the Allied Forces tour, though, right, in 81. So, yeah, I mean, it sounds great. I mean, they kick ass live. I mean, how many of you have seen them live?
I was born when Rick left, so.
The Sport of Kings tour, that was at the Omni in Atlanta. It holds about 16,000. There was probably about 10,000 there, or 12,000. I mean, but it was, and they sounded great. And, I was very, very impressed from that. But this album, I mean, it sounds great. I mean, if you want to know what they sound like, I don't think it was, I mean, you talk about all the overdubs of live albums like Kiss Alive and many
I don't hear any on here.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think I hear any on this. I don't think it sounds like it's them. They didn't go back and
because you got Hold On and all the stuff is removed. So if it was,
So give them credit for that. They didn't have to probably patch things up and do some punch ins. The studio tracks, I was just like, I'm not trying to dog on these guys, but yeah, I mean, you can tell that there's a reason they weren't on an album. I mean, officially on an album. So. I would give those songs like 6s out of 10 or 5s out of 10, but the album, the live stuff is good, but I'd probably give it a 7. And I really don't have a whole lot to say about Stages, but it was kind of a shame because do you think they kind of missed their mark on the timing of the live album? Don't you think
yeah.
I mean, like maybe after Allied Forces or something, because that's kind of when was their what would you guys say their peak of popularity was, like in US and Canada? I don't know how well they did abroad, but
probably Allied Forces.
Yeah, that's what
I'd say Allied Forces, honestly.
Yeah, true. Like for American, for like internationally, I would say Allied Forces. But even after Rock and Roll Machine, because that album blew up in Canada, it's their biggest album here still. You think they would have had a live album from that? Like at least like a live in Canada album, something?
Yeah.
It's very early, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, I mean, this is kind of like they put it out because they had to, right?
It's like they owed a record or something, so like just do a live album.
Let's put out a live album and hope it sells a lot, and it didn't really sell a lot. I don't even know if it didn't sell well at all. So I don't know. That's when their popularity was just starting to go downhill a little bit. So that's really all I have to say about Stages.
Oh, here we go.
Cool.
So Gil was injured and did not play on either of them. So there you go. He sang. So it's kind of weird. You hear his voice, but yep, yeah, it's strange. I didn't even realize that. That's yeah.
Yep.
Well, all right. So Logan.
All righty. Well, I'm more interested in whatever that what is it, King Biscuit Flower Hour, the one you were talking about.
That's
Is that
my top live album?
Is that
right
like
now. Yes.
Is that Progressions of Power, or is that
That's Progressions of Power Tour, I believe.
yeah? So
Cool.
Or maybe Allied
I'd say
Forces.
that's
But it came out like in the 90s or 2000s. It wasn't like a current
Yeah.
live album.
I'd say that's probably going to be more something
yeah.
I'd like than Stages. I like Stages, and I love live albums. I mean, just because I'm a younger guy and I'll never be able to get to see these guys, so you put something like this on, and it's. I don't want to say the cliche. It's kind of like you're there, but
Yeah.
I'm not putting a lighter up during Hold On or anything, but it's pretty cool. I like Gil's drum solo on here. All the tracks, they all sound good. I can at least go to the bars now. Exactly.
And do what? You don't drink.
Can
Just
I get
go
water?
there and stare. Just go there and
drink
stare.
water.
And look around.
Can I get a water? They kick you out. Maybe not. Probably $20 for a water.
Well, get a Labatt's. It's kind of like water, isn't it?
But yeah, probably some of my favorites on here from the live section. Probably Allied Forces. I like that version of it. Love When the Lights Go Down. That's a great opener. Rock and Roll Machine, which me and Cindy were talking about earlier.
Yep.
Rick doing a bunch of different classical themes in the middle of that solo in the Hall of the Mountain King and stuff like that. It's pretty cool. And of course, Spellbound and Follow Your Heart sound really good live, which Tyler brought up. He says those are the definitive versions of them, which that's pretty cool. I mean, and then we get the studio songs. They leave a lot to be desired to me. I mean, Mind Games is okay. I think Gil shows his vocal talent a little bit because this is like the first kind of I wrote down pop rock orientated song that Gil would sing because he's usually more a hard rock guy. They leave me empty inside.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to check that video. I'm gonna have to check that video out because I've never seen the video to Mind Games before.
Yeah.
But,
no idea.
Yeah, I just want to see what it looks like. I don't.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean it's okay track, I guess. I mean it wouldn't be something I'm gonna listen to all the time, But that kind of irks me about this too. Like you got a live album, and then you put 2 studio songs at the end of it. I just don't. Like I told Sydney, they should have put Blinding Light Show at the end of this. That would have been epic. I mean, that's probably. I don't know if that's what they're playing here when they're doing all this, but it kind of looks like it. I know they have one of them big stage shows, but.
I have a trivia.
Okay.
Who was the first band, and I might be wrong, who was the first band to put studio tracks at the end of a live album?
I know it wasn't Kiss, was it, Webb?
I don't know. It could have been like at the 1940s for all we know.
I know. It's probably Kiss Alive 2. I could be wrong, but it's Kiss Alive 2. The
Seems
whole
like,
side 4.
Yeah, because I can't think of any other one before.
Well known, right? That could have been some 30s country album or something.
Well, Gene Simmons took credit for it, though. He took credit.
He played every instrument on that and sang every song.
Hey, we're talking about Gene Simmons. He invented country music. Okay.
He played all the bass on those Triumph albums.
Yeah, he did. We were the first. I can't do an impression.
But yeah, I'll get into Empty Inside, which is Rick's studio song. No, it doesn't really do much for me. It's not very memorable, kind of a slow ballad. I kind of like, I think Davey mentioned his guitar solo or whatever. That's pretty cool, And I kind of like the vocoder robot voice that says empty inside or whatever. It's kind of cheesy, but
weird, but yeah.
Yeah, and it's got that In the Air Tonight drum machine. I'm pretty sure that's a drum machine.
Yeah.
But yeah, kind of makes the album fall down at the end of it. It just ends with that drum pattern, It's like okay. But yeah, overall, I'd probably give both of these maybe 5 out of 10, 6 out of 10. I mean, it's not something I'm going to listen to all the time. But I'll mention the charts here. Canada, it was on It hit number 31 on the top albums chart. Sweden again. The Swedes love Triumph. Number
Sweden.
44. And then the USA on the Billboard 200 charts has hit number 50. And it's gold in Canada. So that's about all I got to say about stages.
I just thought of something. Does Rick kind of look Swedish? He kind of looks, I mean, does he?
This guy could be a Swede.
No, I think he's like French Canadian background somewhere.
Okay.
Oh, I didn't mention either. I love this gatefold, man.
I'm reaching.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
All them band shots.
Yeah.
And on this side, it shows all the albums, like a collect them all kind of deal.
Now that's how you do it inside. Yeah, see, that's awesome.
Ooh.
You got the US version of Rock and Roll Machine, though.
Can I ask a question to Davey? Because I know Davey will know.
What? Yes.
When I mentioned about such a long time between Never Surrender and Thunder 7 being released, was it because they weren't getting along? Is because I don't know about the band Strife and everything. Do you think that, or was it just because of the record, looking for a record?
I think it was more the record
The
label.
label thing.
Okay.
But it did cause friction because Rick didn't agree with the lawsuit.
Okay.
They sued RCA. And Rick was just like, I don't think we should. Even Gil looks back on that. He's like, yeah, we should have just stuck it out with them and just stuck with it and just persevered instead of filing litigation against an entire label.
Do they talk about why they left Attic? Was that just because it was a smaller label for Canada, right? Or
Probably. Yeah, probably.
that could have been Attic's biggest promoter right there.
They may have pushed them more if they stayed on Attic. Who knows? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah.
But yeah, man, what do you think about stages?
So I think it's a pretty decent live album. Like I said, I've owned the CD for a while. I think I listened to it once, never bothered again for whatever reason. I just never did. Because again, like Davey, I'm not a huge live album guy. I'd rather hear new songs, and then ironically, this has 2 new ones. So I looked at it and I'm like, oh yeah, it's 2 new studio songs. So I actually bought it for that. I like Mind Games. The video, yeah, is cheesy, but I actually kind of dig the song. I'd probably even give it like a 7 or an 8. I actually do like that song. Empty Inside is just kind of like, yeah, whatever. It's like, okay, it's there.
Yeah,
Solo's
Mind
good.
Games is better.
Rick's voice still sounds great though on it. Like I can't knock him for that. Like he's just like he's unable even like a really wimpy like ballady song. His voice is too good to make it like he doesn't have a wimpy voice. He never sings with a wimpy style. Like he always still sounds good, even if the song itself. Bye, Melanie. Thank you for tuning in.
Bye, Mel.
Thanks, Mel.
Bye, Melanie. And then yeah, it's When the Lights Go Down. Yeah, starts it off. That's a great. And they pretty much use that as the opening. I think probably for every tour after that song came out. After Never Surrender. You think that would be kind of a closing song, When the Lights Go Down? But yeah, they always opened that. And then yeah, Never Surrender. See, like I mentioned, I don't know. Yeah, the previous episode, I controversially said I'm not crazy about Never Surrender, and I wait for the solo to kick in. But for whatever reason, I like this version better. I don't know why. I don't know. For me, when I'm listening to a live album, I'm listening more to like the performances of the individuals on it. So I'm really listening more for the vocals and for how the songs come off live. So I really dig the live version of Never Surrender. This will be a weird one. I actually like the live version of Hold On better.
Wow.
Even with all that electric guitar, like and the drums and everything else removed, I think it's really cool to hear like Rick by himself doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And he speeds it up almost. Actually, it almost sounds faster. He almost turns it like into a really like a not a metal song, but like it's just the way he's playing it. It's just he's singing it faster. And I just think it's cool to hear that version of it, like just by himself doing that. And to me, that shows that there was no overdubs, because if they wanted to overdub this, they would throw all that other stuff in. And
yeah,
like Magic Power, I think it's a great version. Rock and Roll Machine, yeah, with like the whole classical. Yeah, you were clearing that up to me earlier, that piece at the end. I'm like, what is that? I've heard that. It's like some famous classical piece. And you pointed out it was the Hall of the Mountain King. He always did that when he. My issue though, I don't think they ever did. I would have liked to hear them play Rock and Roll Machine as it was in the studio, because they never, when they did it live, they never go back to the verses like they did on the original. I wish they had actually done that version live one. Like, I don't think I've ever seen video of them doing the actual studio version live. And then, yeah, Lay It on the Line, another great version where they throw Don't Take My Life into it in the middle. They always did that live. World of Fantasy, yeah, with the extended drum solo that you didn't get originally. And then they threw it on the CD. Oh, yeah, I forgot to mention Allied Forces because I'm looking at the CD. Yeah, that's criminal that got left off there, because I think it sounds great live. I think, yeah, you lose the rhythm of him doing the riff during the solo, but I find the studio version, the leads are a little bit lower in the mix. You don't hear his solo as much. You hear it, but it's not as, on this, you really hear the leads and you can really hear what he's playing. And he's just wailing away. And it's probably the best song on the album, and it's not even on the CD. It's criminal. It's like you removed that. You couldn't just remove Empty Inside. Like, why? Like, I don't get that. It's like you need 2 new studio songs, so you got to take something off of this. Like,
one from each singer. That's what it is.
Stupid. And then Gil's not even on either of them. He's singing, but like he's not even on drums. Like, yeah, that's just weird to me. And then, yeah, Midsummer's Daydream. Yeah, he does it. It's cool to hear that live. Again, it's not something I would listen to on a studio, but for whatever reason, when it comes to live albums, I tend to like that kind of stuff more on a live album. I don't know why, because then it's actual live music and you're hearing it live, right? And I just really, his voice is just phenomenal. And then, yeah, Spellbound, another good version of it. Follow Your Heart. Like I said, I agree with what Tyler said. I like the live versions of Follow Your Heart better, actually. I think it comes off great live. It's a great live song. To me, it sounds like a crowd song that the crowd would sing along to. And then, yeah, Fight the Good Fight again. Just a good, yeah. I'm just kind of saying the same thing. Yeah, every song is well performed live. Like, can't really go too much into it, right? They're all just live songs, so they don't really change much about them, with a few exceptions. But yeah, I'd probably give it an 8. Like, it's funny because I hadn't listened to it in a long time, and I put it on today. I'm like, I forgot actually how good this is. I actually thought I would. Like, I looked at this track listing, and none of these songs are like top Triumph songs for me, other than Rock and Roll Machine. But I found myself really enjoying it, so I thought it was really, really good. Yeah, studio songs, Mind Games, I don't mind, but Empty Inside is just complete throwaway. Hate to say that, but yeah, it's not like they would ever play those songs live. And if they did, you would be like, okay, what are you guys doing?
Bathroom break time.
Bathroom, beer break. Yes.
You imagine them announcing that, okay, we're going to play Mind Games.
Crickets.
All right, I'll be back later. You mean Head Games? If you're going to cover Foreigner? No, not mine.
Same kind of subject matter, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was weird. Yeah. Anyway, so we're going to move on to our next album, which is, I don't have a physical copy, unfortunately. I got the vinyl, actually. It is Child of the Novelty. Logan should be starting because he's a child of the Novelty, but we'll keep it in order.
And then we'll go
to Davey.
Yeah.
There you go.
I got to put up a disclaimer. This album is not streaming. I don't have I was not able to.
You'd have to go on YouTube, right? And
and I listened to a little bit of it, but I do not have a lot of good input on it, except that this sounds really cool. But definitely do Logan and Davey, and I'll just kind of nod and agree.
Okay, so you want to hang out still? Okay, all right.
Well, I can hang. Yeah, if you guys.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I'm not gonna kick you out if you want to stay.
I'm enjoying the banter. I got 15 more minutes.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Don't kick them out yet.
In that 15 minutes.
Yes, I'll keep.
You can drum Mind Games.
I'll go back there and play my electronic kit. No one can hear it. Great.
You can drum Mind Games since Gil wasn't doing it. Poor Gary McCracken. We're making fun of his songs, his only contributions to Triumph. Get him on the show.
He's a great drummer, though, for Max Webster.
Oh, yeah, Max
He's
Webster.
unbelievable.
It's just, yeah. Anyways, it's not a Max Webster show, so all right, over to Davey.
Mahogany Rush, the second album, Child of the Novelty. from 1974, picked by Sydney's father. Now, that cover I have written down here.
That's cool.
If I had this record when I was
Yeah.
a teenager, I would have stared at the album cover while I was listening to the record.
Oh, I thought you were going to say while on LSD, but yeah.
No, it's a really cool cover. Now, the band consists of Frank Marino on all guitars, some keyboards, and all vocals, Paul Harwood on acoustic and electric bass, Jimmy Ayub, I hope I'm pronouncing his name right, on
Ayub, I
drums and
think, yeah.
percussion, and Phil Beck on keyboards. And they're all really good players, and they play well together. But this album sounds a lot like a Jimi Hendrix album to me.
Yep.
Every song almost, it just sounds like Hendrix on guitar and vocals.
Yeah.
Going track by track, I like the first song, Look Outside. It has a liquid guitar sound. It's a really good opener, but total Hendrix vibe from it.
Frank
And
Hendrix.
that's for every song on here. Frank Hendrix, exactly. Through the Milky Way is next, and I wrote down good guitar solos and nice rhythmic underpinnings while Frank is soloing. The next song has three letters dropped from it. It's Talking About a Feeling. So you're missing two G's and an A, which is really unusual for a song title. This is the shortest song on the album at 3 minutes.
Mahogany.
It has a very psychedelic second half, but total Hendrix again. Track number 4, the title track, Child of the Novelty, a little over 4 minutes. It has a different vibe to this song. The drums and bass are really good here. Great guitar solo, some cool backing vocals. This is one of my 3 favorite songs from the record, Child of the Novelty, track 4, the title track. Then you get Makin', which is missing the G, Makin' My Wave at almost a little over 4.5 minutes. Really good drum fills on this song, guitar solos, guitar riffs, and the psychedelic midsection to the end is really good on this track. So Makin' My Wave is another one of my favorites. Side 2 of the record starts off with a new rock and roll. And once again, Hendrix vibes. Good drums on this song. Some nice slide guitar and solos and a very psychedelic ending. Track 7 is called Changin', a little over 3 minutes. I like the drum work on this song, besides, of course, the guitar solos, the backing vocals. And this is the song, because I listened to the record twice straight through. This song reminds me of Crosstown Traffic by Jimi Hendrix, because a lot of these songs, I like Hendrix. I've heard all the albums multiple times working in the record stores for years. And I'm thinking this song reminds me of a Hendrix song. I don't know what it is, but Changing sounds like Crosstown Traffic to me. Next up is Plastic Man, another song I like. It's a very speedy song. It's maybe the fastest song on the record. Really good bass, guitar on this song. Psychedelic Hendrix sound again. Then probably my least favorite song. I guess it's supposed to be guitar, but instead of a U, he puts a W. So it's like
War,
War
Guitar
or Hit War.
War.
Very psychedelic.
Guitar.
Psychedelic rock weirdness I wrote down. There's some cool guitar sounds in it, but it's a little nightmarish. It might be considered filler. Definitely my least favorite from the album. And then it ends with arguably the best song on the record, one of my 3 favorites, besides the title cut and Making My Wave, Chains of Space. Or if you say it really fast, Change of Pace. And this song is definitely a change of pace. It's mellower, it's mid-tempo, it's an instrumental. Excellent band interplay on this song and stellar guitar work. So it's 6 minutes, it's the longest track, and I think it ends the record on good style, in fine style. Now, when I listen to a song like Dream Theater's Octavarium, I always play Name That Prague Song. There's the Who section, there's the Floyd section, there's the Yes section, there's the Genesis section, and I'm sure like diehard Hendrix fans could listen to this record and say, oh, that song is that Hendrix song, this is that Hendrix song. They pulled from that Hendrix song and this Hendrix song to make it. So I guess early on in his career, he really had the Hendrix thing going, because the only stuff I know by Frank Marino, is the Juggernaut record from 1982, because the song Strange Dreams was played on rock radio here in New York. It hit number 9 on the Billboard mainstream rock charts. And I love the synth line in the song. It's really catchy. And I think it predates Ronnie James Dio's Rainbow in the Dark by a year, but it has that same vibe to it. It's got a great synth line, good guitar work. He still sounds a little Hendrixy in his vocal delivery, but I definitely want to explore the catalog further.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah.
I have to do that. I'm going to give this record, I'll leave the chart placement for Logan. I'm giving it a 6 out of 10. It's not really my style, but I liked it more the second time I played it when I made my page full of notes here.
Oh, my God.
So I have to look into, definitely Frank Marino and Mahogany Rush, although this record was under the title, just Mahogany Rush.
Yeah. I don't think any of them were actually under Frank Marino and Mahogany Rush. It got shortened to just Frank Marino because the drummer, I think, one of them left. So he just said, "I'll just."
Yeah, they got a new drummer, so then he went to Frank Marino, and then the reissues are under Frank Marino and Mahogany Rush. But it's a good album. I'm giving it a 6 out of 10. It's not great. It's not horrible. I think the more I hear it, the more I might like it. So I'm giving it a 6.
Yeah.
And I was glad to hear it. It's always good to hear new music that you don't know from the past. So I welcome the opportunity, and it was fun checking it out.
Course. I'm glad you went and checked it out and could be part of this. Yeah. And then Logan.
All right. I guess it was released in 74. I wrote down on the 9 Records label, which I've never heard of before, and 20th Century Fox Records, which I haven't ever really. I've heard of that name because of the movies and stuff, but never a record label, I guess.
Yeah, I've seen their records in the shops.
Yeah. Any rock bands on that label that you remember? Or?
I don't really off the top of my head, but I've seen the label.
Yeah.
Checking out the condition of vinyl, you pull it out, 20th Century Fox Records.
Yeah. Yeah, cool. I was just wondering. I wrote down chart positions at 83 in Canada.
Uh-oh.
He's freezing up.
Uh-oh.
You're back.
You're back.
Okay. I said chart positions at 83 and 74 in the U.S. Well, 83 is Canada. 74 is in the U.S. I didn't write down what chart that was, but Frozenism. But we'll start the album with Look Outside, which album jumps right at you with a very Hendrix-esque now instead of Hendrixism.
That doesn't work.
Yeah, Hendrix-esque wah-drenched guitar riff. See, I can't even speak now. But with Frank adding some extra guitar in the background on the chorus of the song. It's got a pretty funky sounding track with a lot of feel in the playing. It's got a cool solo. Frank shows off his like bluesy pentatonic scale playing to good use. It's got nice touches in the rhythm section, in the mid-section of the song, with some added percussion. It's got a strong start to the record, I think. And Through the Milky Way, I think, is the one that reminded me of Stone Free from Hendrix. Kind of got that same kind of, yeah. But the song starts with an upbeat drum groove, which breaks into Frank's guitar parts, taking charge into another fast-paced riff on the song. It's got some nice backing vocals behind him. It's got a cool solo. It's got some. I like the backing vocals on this song. This song really, I mean, I know they all kind of sound like the Hendrix kind of thing, but this one really reminds me of Hendrix on here. I've seen some reviewers online even went as far to say that Hendrix's spirit has visited Mr. Marino. And with Frank going on record, are you going to say it? I don't want to say it.
I'll get into that.
I won't say it. I won't spoil it. But talking about a feeling with the interesting way of writing that song title. Now we get a more straight-ahead blues-styled song with Frank delivering a great blues vocal, cool riff. I said this one reminds me of Foxy Lady, so I guess there's a couple that I wrote down title songs for. It's got a little faster in the verses, though. I like the cool turnaround parts in the rhythm section right after the second chorus. And I think Frank really has some wild guitar theatrics soaked in feedback on this song. Pretty cool jam on this album. And Davey, I would recommend the Frank Marino and Mahogany Rush live album. That is something to check out for sure. Because he plays this song, but It should be longer on there, but it's not.
Just 4
This
covers.
is
on
kind
that
of like
live
one
album.
of them songs. Yeah, he does Johnny Be Good on there. Did you really need that?
Johnny
But-
Be Good, I'm a King Bee, Purple Haze.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just had it up here. Yeah, he does
I thought
Backdoor
All
Man
On
too.
Watchtower was on there, but that's on a different live album. That's on Tales,
Yeah,
right?
he does.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's one of my favorites too on here. We get the title track, Child of the Novelty. It's got a nice laid back feel to it. A lot of cool guitar work. Frank giving a softer style vocal. Got some cool harmonic tones on the solo of the song. And I think kind of Frank, if you look at the lyrics, yeah, I agree with Mr. Marcus there. But yeah, I think Frank's really thinking about Hendrix in the song, like some of the lyrics, working magic before people's eyes and things like that. Seems like a tribute to Hendrix in a way to me. And I like the ending of the song. It's got a little drum cadence. Layered guitars really shining through before breaking into another Marino solo. Yeah, it's a cool laid back track, I said. And then we get Making My Wave. Get a rockin' stop-start riff with the vocals filling in the spaces with the band really showing how tight of a unit they are. And I mentioned Jimmy, however you say his last name. I'm not going to butcher it. But
Ayub, I think.
Yeah, Ayub. I mean, he really shines on this tune, I think. Like, somebody like Webb, he should really like Making My Web. That would be a Making My Web. Making My Web. Making My Wave would be a great song for you. I know you listen to it a little bit, but I think you might like
Web. There you go.
Making My Web.
I'm definitely going to go back and listen to it. So I need to.
And I like I mentioned with Triumph, this is like a great headphone song too, with the solos fading back and forth between the channels. It's got some definite Hendrix isms with some backwards hi-hat sounds, like Are You Experienced a little bit. Frank giving I think he gives like almost, it's not rap, but I said talking section kind of into the fade out. It's a good side closer. I believe it's the side closer. And then we get a new rock and roll. So I know he does this one on a live album too. It's got a great rock and roll centered track with some awesome guitar theatrics, kind of a 50s rock and roll feel. Frank giving a grittier vocal than on some of the earlier tracks on this album too. Love the riff on this song. It's got the solo section. It's kind of doing the same thing Making My Wave did, kind of the same songwriting style. Got a great up-tempo rock and roll song. I said with Frank abusing his whammy bar at the end.
Abusing the whammy, yeah.
It's kind of going crazy on that song.
Yeah.
Yep. And then you think changing would be change in without the G based on previous things.
Yeah.
But no, this time, it's got this is a nice upbeat rocker. It's got some cool changes on it. Changesism. For the first verse. Again, I wrote down Jimmy Ayub drum talent. Kind of structured more as a launching pad for a jam more than anything. It's not really a song to me. It's got some cool trade-off licks between Frank and Paul and Jimmy in the middle section. And I said Plastic Man, the next track. We'll get some cool Hendrix-inspired stuff. Love the tone Frank gets in this song. Really groovy and funky. And that break towards the middle of the song, it's got some really interesting parts in it. Frank's vocal is pretty fast and frantic, too. Kind of different for Killer Dorothy. Maybe so. You never know. But, yeah. So I gave Frank credit for writing Changing, like normal people would. And then we get to normal American English speakers, I guess. Then we get the guitar, which,
Guitar, I don't know.
Which, song kind of starts off different, a lot of effects. And Frank's vocal sounding all modulated and pitched deep. I think, Davey, when you listen to this album, I think you texted me something about, like, it sounds like Nightmare, like he's singing to you in your sleep or something. It's creepy stuff, I think. The backing noises get louder and louder, and there's a siren going off behind. It's like,
I thought that's his guitar doing like a siren sound.
Is that what that is?
Probably. He was always doing weird sounds with it. Yeah, like Hendrix did with bend the strings and destroy the whammy bar.
Well, yeah, like I was going to say, this is kind of his play on of Hendrix's Star Spangled Banner a little bit, like he does on the live album. He actually kind of does that kind of a tribute a little bit.
Yes.
Yeah, he did a lot of experimental things. Yep.
If he was a, sorry, Logan, I'm interrupting. If he was such a Hendrix disciple, Hendrix loved the psychedelics. I'm wondering if Frank loved the psychedelics too. I'm just
well, you look at that album cover.
Yeah. So sorry,
but yeah, it's his first like foray into war themes, and I said he'd later do this to great effect on Juggernaut's Stories of a Hero, which is probably my favorite Mahogany Rush, Frank Marino related track. I love that song.
Juggernaut, yeah.
Yeah. It's got a real creepy track to play. I said it's a real creepy track to play at night with headphones on. It kind of reminded me of what Davey said. But then we get Chains of S Pace.
Brackets, Pace. Yeah, I don't know.
Martin would hate this album. You know how bad he gets about.
Yeah.
But yeah, we get another laid back feeling track reminiscent of the title track of earlier. With the band really settling into a nice groove for most of the track. Frank playing some interesting guitar sections, which I think it has some backward soloing towards the middle. I said the instrumental really highlights Frank's dexterity on the instrument. He's doing a lot of different stuff on here. Playing soft chords and some really unique sounding chords. I think it makes for an interesting song to close the album out. I said it's pretty solid Mahogany Rush album. My only complaint, some of the songs, and I have the same kind of feeling about Maxum and Strange Universe to an extent. I think Strange Universe is the best of the three from the first couple. But in my head, kind of the songs kind of blend together a little bit. So when you're going back listening to these, it's like, oh, what one was that? Or oh, what one was this? But it's all played great. I always thought Marino and Uli John Roth both shared those Hendrix sensibilities to their playing and their music, but found a way to make it their sound kind of as well. So I gave this album a 7.
Well, okay. It's not bad. So yeah, Frank, so we can get into a little bit of storytelling. It's not really stories. I mean, this is all general knowledge. You could look this up, but yeah, the whole Hendrix thing, it's very funny. He said this in an interview once. He went and saw Hendrix. He would have been young in like, I think 67. He went and saw Hendrix. So he would have probably only been like 12, 13 years old. And he went and saw him, and he thought it was just terrible. He's like, I thought it was just complete noise. I'm like, this guy's just making noise on his guitar, doing all this stuff. He's like, I thought it was just complete noise. And by 13, he was already doing acid.
Oh, there you go.
I think he had a bad acid trip or something, and he got hospitalized. He was only 14. He did acid, got sent to the hospital. And while he was just there in recovery in hospital, he just picked up a guitar and started learning all like the big songs of the day, the Doors, and then Hendrix. Hendrix was everywhere. But then at that point, he actually kind of, for whatever reason, understood it and got an appreciation for Hendrix. And it was just like, oh, okay, this stuff is actually really good. It's not just noise. I get the whole thing. And it actually ended up influencing him. This was kind of weird because he hated the stuff at first. But then gets acid, goes to the hospital, gets out of just boredom, just picked up a guitar, started learning songs of the day. But yeah, he did first start off as a drummer. I think he actually started practicing drums and then got into guitar and just started learning like songs of the day just by ear and just thinking like this stuff is actually really, really good. It's not noise. And then but then he said the label when the first album came out, Maxum, that the record label or something thought it would be a cool story to run with and say that during his bad acid trip, he was visited by the spirit of Hendrix who put his soul into him, and people bought into this whole he's got the soul of Hendrix in him and nonsense, and they took out something that was true and spinned that, and totally ridiculous. It's like, come on, really? Like, it's just total nonsense. But yeah, that was a little backstory on that whole thing because I wanted to get into that. Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, age of 5, he started drums. That's right. Yeah.
Wow.
But the whole Hendrix is inside of him nonsense. Yeah. And they just ran with that. I guess they thought it was going to make him more popular. I don't know how that would work. Like, that's weird, but Yeah, so Child of the Novelty. So it's his second album. He was it's only 20 when this came out and when it was recorded. First album he was I think 16 when it was recorded, but by the time it actually came out and released, Frank has stated this, he was like 19, so it took like a while. It came out in 72, but I think he said he initially recorded it in like 69, 70 when he was like 16 years old. And it's kind of the same sort of stuff that's on here, just really weird psychedelic. So even if you don't really like that sort of thing, for a 16-year-old to even be that creative and make this kind of weird music. No, it's right after his little acid trip and when he started getting into Hendrix. So he thought, oh, I'll just start making this kind of stuff.
And he was only playing guitar for a few years. So
Yeah, it was
to be
ridiculous.
that good so young.
Yeah, it's just insane. 3 years, like, just was able to just for somebody who he initially didn't even like. Yes, and he actually was originally a drummer. He learned drums at 5, and he liked Mitch Mitchell as a drummer. So he initially watched Hendrix for the drummer, but thought Hendrix himself was noise, but then got into it. So funny. And then so the album Look Outside, it's just pure Hendrix. All these songs, first 3 songs, Look Outside, Through the Milky Way, and Talking About a Feeling, they're all in that sort of same vein. Just very good, like it's hard, just heavy blues, psychedelic, hard rock, just of the time. Just really great stuff. Well, hey Ken. Where is it?
Hello,
Hey
Ken.
You're late. No, it's okay.
Ken.
Thanks for joining. It's great to have you here. Yeah, Mitch Mitchell was phenomenal. It's no wonder he watched him. But yeah, I'll talk about getting influence, right, from Hendrix and Mitch Mitchell. Those are your sources of inspiration. Like it's top tier stuff. But then so Look Outside, Through the Milky Way, Talking About a Feeling, all just great Hendrix inspired songs. Just wailing away on the whammy bar, just going nuts on the leads, just in your face stuff. And then Child of the Novelty gets it little cooled down a little bit. Again, it's kind of like I said, it's almost rapping. It's spoken word almost, you could call it. There you go. Frank Marino was the first rapper. 1972. He invented rap music. Oh, I'm sure Frank would love that. No, it was just he's just almost talking. It's like spoken word. I guess Jim Morrison, right? He's probably a little influenced by Doors, that kind of thing.
Hendrix did some talking too, and
he did. He had a very talk voice. Even like Hey Joe, he's kind of just talking in a way. Yeah, it's got like that talking style, and then out of nowhere at the end, just this solo kicks in and then it's done. It's like what? The solo just fades out. I thought this would have made like a good long epic track. It should have been like a 10-minute song where the solo goes and then goes back to the chorus or something. It should have had that instead of just ending abruptly. But still a good song. And then Making My Wave and the New Rock and Roll, just good heavy, just good bluesy hard rock songs again. Changing, same thing, just really just good guitar playing throughout. Like every song, they don't really sound like song. Like there's no real. I mean, there is choruses. There you go. Davey's sick. He's got the halls.
That was our sponsor.
My Kryptonite, the Fade Out. Yeah.
I don't like them either.
Yeah, the songs themselves, like it's hard to really compare each song. For me, like I don't play any instruments. So you guys are able to like break down into like what's what and this part and this part. So for me, it's just kind of like, well, they're all just kind of like really jammy songs, right? He's just kind of jamming.
Yep.
These are like songs you would hear live, right? Not on a studio album. Because there's not really bridge, chorus, anything like that. There is, but it's not really they're not really constructed as proper songs. Not that it's bad, but it's just he's just going nuts, right? Just playing his guitar and showcasing himself, really. Pretty much just a guitar album, really, is all it really is. And then Plastic Man again, same sort of thing. And then the guitar, that's where he loses me on that thing. It's just I don't know. It's just weird. It's hard to even call it a song. I don't want to rag on Frank because it seems from everything I've heard and seen from him, he's a really cool guy. And I actually have sent him an email asking him if he would come on at some point.
Oh.
So be cool if he did that. And he said on his website that he actually replies to his emails. It takes him a while because I'm sure he has probably tons of people sending him messages.
Well,
so yeah,
he's too busy. He's too busy abusing his whammy bar. So
oh my god,
love you, Frank. Love you.
oh my god, yeah, guitar. So it's like this would have fit perfectly on Metal Machine Music by Lou Reed.
The
Would have
best
been
album
best
of all
song
time.
on there, but
Interesting.
yeah, it's just yeah. If anyone doesn't know, who's not familiar with that, Lou Reed did like a album that I guess he owed to the label, and it's all just guitar feedback. It's like I don't know how long it is. I don't know, 40 something.
Double album, isn't it?
Is it?
Yes.
Is it a double?
LP, single CD.
People always talk about physical graffiti. Come on. I mean, no competition.
Metal Machine. And it's funny because I remember looking that up online. I'm like, yeah, I know Lou Reed. I know like Sweet Jane, the hits. And I saw that. I'm like, oh, this must be like his hard rock album. So I click on listening. I'm like, what is this?
All feedback.
Yeah, the whole is an hour and something of feedback because he owed the label a record and said, screw you guys, I'll just record guitar feedback and then called it Metal Machine Music. Like
it was a big FU, wasn't it? Yeah.
It's kind of funny.
It was.
I'm surprised. Did he get sued? I don't know if there was a whole lawsuit with that because it's like you're not. All he owed was the recording, right?
He gave it to them.
I
got a good
instrument
story.
on the guitar.
Could I tell a good fast story about Metal Machine Music?
Yeah.
Working back in the day at the record stores, Christmas time, people, we would say we're closing in 15 minutes, 10 minutes, 5 minutes, and people would just stay. So we used to turn off the music, and they would still be shopping around. I'd say, sir, madam, we're closing up. So eventually, I started putting on Metal Machine Music just to drive people out of the store because it's after closing hours. We're not getting paid. We're not on the clock anymore, and yet we're stuck there. And one of my coworkers, it drove him so crazy. He said, "Davey, you got to take this off. It's driving me crazy."
Awesome.
I'm like, "But we got to get the people out of here, Joe."
Yeah, that's
So
good.
I used to play that around Christmas time just to make the people leave at the end of the day.
That's smart, Davey. Very smart.
Oh boy,
That's my little story on Metal Machine Music. But we had a CD and I kept it on the side just for those circumstances.
Yes, L. Yes, L. L's right on there with that one.
the Titanic song on loop.
Oh my God.
Goodness.
Be like,
I'd take that over Metal Machine Music, honestly. At least it's music. Metal
Well, at
Machine
least
Music.
it's a song, yeah.
Just
Yeah.
noise. Like, what the hell? Like, it's just like, okay.
And broke it into 4 tracks.
Oh, yeah. It wasn't, just
Track
Metal
1,
Machine
track
Music, part
2,
1,
track
part
3,
2. Yeah, he
track
didn't even
4.
name the songs. It's just like, so ridiculous.
I'm not going to check that out. I don't know.
I don't know how we didn't get sued. They could have made the argument this is not actual music. We got to redo something. Like, you can't
It
just
is. It's a guitar and an amp. That's music.
Track 3 is a personal favorite. So
I like 2.
imagine that. Tell somebody what your favorite album is and get them to go listen to that. Imagine if they came back to you and they're like, "This was wonderful." You'd be like, "I was pranking you, but okay."
Yeah.
Cuckoo. Oh, I'm surprised they probably use that to like torture prisoners and.
I got to stretch, boys.
Oh God. So yeah, then
did you
that's
rate
our
it, Sydney?
Our talk, and then Chains of Pace or Space of Ian Pace. I don't know what that is. I don't know what that is. It's a weird title. I don't get that. It's weird. Maybe he was still experimenting. I don't know what that was all about. Yeah, it's still a good song. This is a really weird album. It's just heavy psychedelic stuff with the little guitar thrown in there.
Guitar.
Like, you hear guitar. I'm sitting there thinking, is this like an intro? Okay, it's just gonna be like an intro to like a good song, and then it just like keeps going for like almost 4 minutes. Like it's 4 minutes of like guitar feedback and noise. It's like, okay, and Frank talking underneath it. It's just really, really weird. There's none of the stuff on here is really anything like his stuff he would do after. Really, he went more just hard rock after this. So this is not like a top Frank Marino album for me. Some good stuff, like the first 4 songs, and then like some of the stuff in the middle is really good. And like none of the songs really stuck with me other than the first few. I'd probably go 6.5 because it's not bad. Guitar brings it down a little bit because it's like I just can't. It's just okay. It's not. I'll give it that. It's not annoying. Like it's not really annoying. It's just kind of there. Metal Machine music's just annoying.
Not the Logan.
Power of R&R, top tier Merino. Oh my god. Yeah, Poppy's a good song. Yeah. Yeah.
I'll
Here's
agree
an
with
idea
what
for our next
I'll-
show is going to be all four of us listening to Metal Machine music
Yes.
for
Listening
5 hours
party.
on loop multiple times.
No. No.
After that, Celine Dion.
Mm.
Uh,
Well, you want to plug what we're doing tomorrow?
yep. I'm gonna plug what we're doing tomorrow.
Yeah.
So, oh my God, the electric chairs. Don't get me started. I'm going to go on a rant now.
What states tomorrow? What states?
Not your state yet. You're Georgia, right? We're a while to that.
Yeah.
We're still in the A's, Web.
We're still in the A's.
There's a lot of A's. There's
only
A's.
4.
Oh, there's only 4? Okay.
Yeah, it seemed like
Lot
there's
of
no
M's.
B's, which was surprising. I was like, oh, we skipped a whole letter. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're doing, they're state to state. Do you have snow in Georgia? Someone's asking. Yeah. I don't think so. I don't think there's
I'll
snow in
answer that.
Georgia.
Hold on.
A little too far south for that, isn't there?
No, we get it. Like once
do
every
get
5
snow?
years. Yeah, I mean, if we get 5 inches of snow, the entire 7 million people shut down. The whole. Yeah.
Oh,
so,
boy. Yeah, so we're doing what it states? Arkansas and Arizona. So for Arizona, it's a band that Pete Pardo's actually ranked their catalog already for a little bit, was Ashbury. They had the album in '83, Endless Skies, and then a few other ones after that when they reunited in the 2000s.
Yep.
And then the other band was a band that I just randomly, I searched Arkansas bands and I was doing some research. Some band, they're classified as like Southern metal. That's their genre classification, and they're called Hell Camino. Not El Camino, but Hell Camino. Kind of
I've heard
a
them.
funny band. Oh, you actually have heard of them?
I feel like, well, I don't know. I feel like I've heard that name definitely.
Really? Okay.
You
Yeah.
probably like it, Web. I don't know, but
We got
it
3
seems
albums.
like something we'd like.
Yeah, it's like stoner metal is what they call it. Southern metal.
Yeah.
Seems like pretty solid stuff. But yeah, we'll get into that our next show. That's what that's going to be. And Davey, can me and Logan plug the show that you asked us about?
Sure.
So Davey has been kind enough to, once we're done our Triumph series, invite us on to do top 12 Triumph songs with 3 honorable mentions for a total of 15 songs.
Can I do it?
Not up to Davey.
This was Logan's idea.
Was it?
Talk to him about it.
Oh my God. He said, can I please be on your show?
Please.
He did the whole Wayne's World and Alice Cooper thing. I'm not worthy.
Let me on. Let me on, please.
Could I give a quick plug to some shows I'm doing in the next few weeks?
Of course.
I'm going to be on Logan's boss's channel, Grant's Rock Warehouse.
Logan's boss.
Grant.
Your jefe.
I didn't know Grant was your boss. I thought I was your boss. Hey, what's going on?
We love Grant.
I'm gonna be on
Kidding.
Tuesday the 7th. I'm going to be joining John and Grant. We're going to be doing a one and done episode. And then the following Tuesday, the 14th, I'm going to be on Grant's Rock Warehouse. And we're going to continue our series on Styx,
Nice.
highlighting their 3rd record, The Serpent is Rising. Ooh. And the 4th record, Man of Miracles. So look for me on Grant's Rock Warehouse.
Of course.
And I'll have more content coming up on my own channel, Cretan Classics, soon. And I'll be back on this series in a few weeks.
Yes, for Sport of Kings, right? No, surveillance.
I got to work next Saturday, unfortunately.
That's yeah.
But thank
What
you
about-
for having me on.
What about Sundays? Can you do Sundays or no?
I
Sundays
work
are
every Sunday like clockwork.
Oh, okay. Oh yeah, and then you got your overnights too. So you sleep during the day, and
Ugh.
you're like
Thanks
an
for
owl.
coming on, Davey.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Oh yeah.
Davey,
It was nice to meet you, by the way, Webb.
nice to meet you, Davey. It's a pleasure listening to you and hanging out. And I really thank Logan and Sydney for asking me back for second time. They like me. They really like me.
Sally Field.
Wayne's World-isms?
As far as I know, right? You guys ever talk about these? Oh, sorry, turn it the wrong way.
Everyone talks Maiden.
I know. Okay. All
I've never heard that band. Are they new?
You never heard of them?
Mike Lodano's doing a series on them starting in a week or two.
That's a task. Holy, like 30 albums?
I will be on one of those episodes too.
Okay.
And not one of the 80s records. That's all I'll say.
Okay.
Huh.
Are you able to say what one and done you're doing with Grant, or is that not knowledge that he wants?
He hasn't put it up yet, so.
It's Tall Water, right?
No.
Well, it's probably a bunch of different bands.
They killed me for saying
right?
that. Yeah.
Okay.
It was Webb's first garage band. Come on.
Yes, it was.
They did Cool Down and played nothing else. Cool Down.
That's the only song I knew. I played it over and
Cool Down. They told me cool down already with that song.
Yeah, I did it to every. I played those drums to every song. It just didn't matter. I just kept.
Yeah. Whenever we would tour, instead of people yelling out "Play Freebird," people would yell out "Play Cool Down."
Yes. Well, guys, I'm gonna jump out. Logan, right. Sydney, Davey, I really appreciate it. Happy New Year.
Yep,
and
Happy New Year.
Hopefully I'll get to jump back on with you guys one day.
Of course.
So,
Happy New Year, Cupcake.
Oh, God.
I love your impressions, Davey. I love
you.
And how much did we laugh today? That was a lot of good laughing.
Yeah, too much.
Yeah. All right, guys. I'm out.
Need a drum solo.
Arrivederci.
All right. Yeah, see you guys.
See you later.
Shalom.
See you, Webb.
He's still there. Why is he still there?
I'm still there. I don't know how to get out of here.
Yet he's going, yet he's still there.
No,
who are these people?
How can I leave
these Smalls? Hey, shave that thing. Come on, Webb.
All right, so Davey, you want to play us out with your Sinatra-fied rock out, roll on?
I don't know if I can. My voice is shot.
Okay. Sinatra doesn't have that good of a voice. Come on.
Time goes by, bridges burn, big girls turn. Time will fly through the sky. Oh yeah, swing with me, daddy-o. Oh no, Logan's getting dark in the park. After dark, his lighting sucks, just like the ducks on StreamYard. Oh yeah, everything's backwards, left is right, right is left. In my chin, I got a cleft. Hey, there you go. Oh wait, that's Huey Lewis has the cleft in his chin.
Oh boy.
Oh well, I was close.
That was awesome.
I was just, vamping a little there, Daddy. It's just, freebasing. I mean, freestyling. I was jamming. Whamma jamma mamma. Oh yeah.
Oh my God.
We couldn't end it any better than that. So.
All right. I hope
thanks, guys.
Everyone's gonna get a kick out of that after.
If they stayed for over 2 hours.
They go and rewatch it. Yeah. Oh boy, 2 hours.
Wow, the show is longer than my ex-wife. Now wait a minute.
Yeah.
I don't even know what that means. What the heck does that mean?
Yeah, we got music and impressions. There we go. Oh, well, thanks everybody for joining. We had Webb here, who's gone now, but you got Davey Creighton, Logan, me as always. Don't Stop. No, you wanted him to sing Don't Stop Now. Oh, there's a challenge. No.
Don't stop me now.
Gotta do it like Freddie, though.
I'm having a good time, having a good time. I'm having a ball after all. Oh, yeah. Come on. He's doing Queen now. Don't stop me now.
Yeah.
Don't stop me now.
Somebody wants to tip Davey.
Can we tip the guest? Oh, boy. There we go.
Stop me. I'm out of control.
Oh my God! Imagine doing Bohemian Rhapsody, the acapella part.
Mama,
here we go.
Just killed a man. Put a gun against my head. Pulled that trigger. Now I'm dead.
Oh boy! All right.
I'm not going to try the middle section. That's
no. That's yeah. Voice come back. Sounds good.
Oh, I got to get up and walk around and stretch. I've been sitting for 2 hours.
All right. So on that note, thanks everyone for joining, and be sure to check out Davey Cretan's channel,
Cretan Classics.
Cretan Classics. He doesn't do this. He
Won't
keeps it
regret
a
it.
little bit more civilized.
Up to date.
Yeah, he plays a little bit more straight faced than yeah. Well, thanks everybody for joining, and yeah, it's been a pleasure. It's been a riot. Thanks for that, Davey.
Thank you, Unabomber.
Oh,
Ladies and gentlemen, you know him, you love him, you can't live without him. The Unabomber in the top left, at least to me, but it's backwards on StreamYard.
no, you the bomber, not me. Yes.
That duck is quackers on StreamYard. It's so hard on StreamYard. Everything's backwards.
Oh my.
What the heck is going on here?
All right. Well, yeah, thanks everybody for watching, and yeah, we'll see you tomorrow, not next week, tomorrow for our States to States with Arkansas and Arizona's Ashbury and El Camino. Yeah.
And definitely everyone out there watching, like and subscribe and comment. Tell us what you think about all 3 of these records that we reviewed today.
And Davey's singing.
No, don't comment on that.
That's our next discussion. Ranking every Davey Cretan cover.
Oh my goodness gracious.
No.
Great balls of fire.
All right. Have a good one, everybody, and see you tomorrow.
Keep rocking.
Keep rocking. Rock out, roll on.